Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It is June 14th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and today is just a almost reverse opposite of what we had yesterday. You had a nice leg down. You had your correction. This one's a little more than 50%, but that's rather common. And then you had your second leg down. So it's almost the reverse opposite of what we had yesterday. And this was a down day for the most part. There was a little bit of up period here. This was coming into the FOMC news, so um, this burgundy part is from about 12 o'clock till things kind of settle down, and you got to be real careful in there. Um, it wasn't a crazy day as far as FOMC. I mean, I've seen it jump 15, 20 points, whatever. But notice what happens before the day's over. We've taken it all back, and that's pretty typical. You'll get some move based on the news, and generally it's not very long before it takes it all back, and it just kind of resets and starts over from that point. So, and that's what happened today. So, but let's back out a little bit, talk about the trades, and we'll wrap up. Not a lot of trades today because you can't, generally things get kind of flat and sideways like they are right here going into that news. And you might have considered entering here. It's not a very good setup. I'm going to mark it just so I remember to talk about it. I mean, this is a great example of how even with the news item and things getting, you notice how things move a little further than normal, but the price action still plays out. Notice how we bounced right there. Then we got an overshoot and we reversed. And so even during the news item, the price action still plays out. But this is where you got to be careful because normally your stop would go right here, and if you went long right there, which you wouldn't have, but this is just an example. Notice how it shot down here just enough to run a bunch of stops because people go crazy right when the news comes out, and then it gets a little volatile. Has a pretty good move down, and before the day's over, it's taking it all back and kind of resets, and that's typical. So, but let's move over here and talk about the trades. This was a perfect setup here early. You got a little trend line working up. There wasn't much volume, much happening at all early this morning. You get a break, you bounce. You can't go long right there. I think that's into the 7 o'clock hour, but you can't go long right there. And you don't want to go long out of this. That's just congestion. So when it breaks higher and tests that and gives you a lower high and a fairly bearish bar, I like going short there because this is looking like basically a range day. And at that point, you're looking for prices to probably come back down and test this low. And who knows what will happen from there. But that's our first target. And so if you catch this one, you get a runner as well, and you can just ride this. And then we get a little bounce here, and this one plays out. This is perfect price action. You get a close outside, move to a new high, and if you drew this line right here and just drug it up to those top two, originally I had it here, but it just went a little higher, so I moved it a little higher, and lo and behold, you get that break, a move up here in the reversal. I like going short right there just because everything's falling in place exactly like you would want it to. And again, you probably catch a runner here. Then you get a first entry, pull back second entry. So there's a failed second entry long right there, and we aren't quite down to the lows. You probably got enough room there. If you got enough room, you can go short right there. It comes back here, and it's really tempting, but now you got a double bottom right at those lows, so I don't think you want to risk that. Even though it would have worked, I don't think you want to risk it. But then it comes back and it tests it again, and so now you got a double test there and a big bearish bar, but again, it's right into those lows. So I'm not willing to give that a red right there, especially with it going sideways like that. Look how the bars are all stacking up, and you can't break below that little low right there. So if you want to be really super risky, there's a reason to consider going short there. So I marked it green. But I'm just going to tell you, I'm probably not going to take that trade because before long, a better trade is going to come along. And it does push down and goes a little further. But notice how it's just kind of going back and forth across that support resistance area right there. It can't get back through the EMA, so that's a good sign. but we're not following that trend line. We got a break there, and we got a couple of legs down, so you can't really risk anything till you get a reversal pattern. And this is where it gets tough. When you see prices keep going lower here, but you can't really find a good reason to enter because of the support resistance line right across there. And then just going sideways here, but you finally get a reversal pattern here. Notice you move up, first entry short, you go higher, and you get a second entry short that fails instantly and turns up. And this is why you can't go short right in here, because this is what might happen to you. And so I like going long there. Notice that I made it green, and the only reason I made that green is because it's right back into that support resistance, and it gaps there. You couldn't have got in this trade without using a limit order. And by the time it comes back here, well, it's hit that high right there again, and it can't get through there, and it's turning down. So you got to be concerned about that resistance across there, and you can't be going long into that. So that makes that suspect as well. It does come back and confirm this trend line right here and give you a second entry. So again, you needed to be a little bit concerned about this line, but with it confirming that trend line and having pushed higher here and came back, and this is a little bit of a trap because that looks pretty bearish right there. And I guarantee a lot of people went short and then they got caught off guard there. It comes back again and it touches this line, but that's too bearish. This one's only a couple of ticks, but there's not anything really exciting going on there other than it is a bounce off the trend line. And so for that reason, you might consider that one, but I'd probably say skip it because we're just going sideways here. Notice how prices are below the EMA, above, below, above, below, above, below. Even though that's got a slight upward bias, that's a sideways movement. And you just got to be careful getting, the only way to trade this is to go long off the lows or short off the highs. And but we already had the break and the new low, and we're making higher lows up through here, so the bias is slightly up. So you're going to be, you're going to be favoring the long side. That's why you don't see many shorts there. And then of course this one moves on up, but I really think you're better off to skip that one. It would have worked, but you only know that after the fact. So then you make this high, and well, actually you get into the 12 o'clock hour. This would have been a great second entry long if it wasn't right into the news. This was news related. That would have been a great, it's a perfect setup, but you can't take that because it's in that news hour right there, and and same thing here, you get that reversal pattern. Notice the high, pull back first entry, pull back. Look how bullish, and it's a fail. They trap people right there, and then look at it, boom. And then it works its way back up, gets to that trend line, boom, turns down, comes back, tests it again. And by the time we get back up here, it's starting to look normal again. It's still that's a really big bar, but that's because they had everybody trapped right there to the long side thinking that they were going higher. And when it actually went out and then turns and comes back down. So you probably had quite a few people had to exit before it bounced again there. And so you might have gone short right there. Because it had started to slow down a little bit, and you got this trend line. And plus, what we're looking for is you got that first leg down, and this worked off that 50% level, maybe a little bit more than 50%, but it could have been just because it's news driven. And just like here, even though we traded outside that line, the kite closed back inside of it. And that was news related. And so you're looking for a target way down here. So you might consider that one. I think you're better off to skip it. It's still too close to the news. It's right into these lows here. There's a lot of different reasons to just say, hey, let's just sit tight and see what happens. And it turns out to be a nice trade, though. And then, of course, now we're moving up. We get a little close outside, move to a new high. This is just kind of a repeat pattern of the one from over here. And you get another bearish sparks right off that trend line, and the EMA there as well. I like that one. Just to try to test these lows again, and maybe if you get lucky, we start another leg down. We already had a measured move for the most part. We'd actually gone a little further, but this is a pretty strong sell-off right here, and this is a second entry short right at the EMA, right at the trend line, so you got confluence between those two items there. So I like it. It's late in the day. I mean, you could argue for this to probably be green, but I like that trade. It's not quite 2 o'clock yet, and you know, you can trade slightly into this time period here. I will mention, since I'm talking about that, another trader asked me about this second entry long right here. Uh, you know, if he read it right, yeah, it's a second entry long, but it's right into the close. And what's happening here is you got all these people. This is a pretty strong move up here, so you got a lot of people buying and getting long. And right before 3 o'clock, what happens? Well, your day traders have to exit because they can't carry it overnight. We don't carry our trades overnight as day traders, so they got to exit. So all these people that have been buying up through here that are day traders have got to exit, and so you get a little bit of a sell-off right there. So you just can't enter in this part of the day. I like to cut it off at 2, but as you can see, there's still some good price action in there. But definitely after 3 o'clock, don't be entering. You know, 5 or 10 to 3, don't enter after that, because the market doesn't act. Even though the price action still probably plays out, it doesn't act. It doesn't do. It's not normal, because you know, you got day traders that all have to exit, and depending on how the market, you know, how that's stacked up, if you've been buying for the last hour pretty steadily, because you can see that's pretty straight up right there, and so they got it. Those buyers and people getting long there got to exit, and you see that's what probably that little move is right down into the close, because this line is your close, and they were exiting there. And you know, it may not always be enough to drive it down like that, but you can't take a chance of that. So don't enter in this, you know, the last 30 minutes of the market for sure. And honestly, I don't like to trade after 2 o'clock, and I don't recommend it. So, but yeah, that was it for today. There weren't a lot of trades. The FOMC days tend to do that, um, unless you want to try to be a news trader. And I see a lot of these um, strategies based on trading the news, and you can see there are some good moves. And if you'd read the price action right here, you could have got some nice money, but it just moves so fast and so furious, and you can get fooled so easily that I say don't fool with it. You're better off just sit on the sidelines, let it calm down, and then try to get in then. So anyway, I think we're done for today. I did get the midday chart out on time. I'm doing this before it's dark here today instead of 8 o'clock at night like I did yesterday. So I'm almost caught up. I still got a few things that are pending out there that I need to take care of, but today felt more normal. So I'm almost back to normal, but I'm going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week. Believe it or not, we're already ready to wrap up a week. It seems like I just got back, and when you're busy, that's the way it goes. So, but hope you had a good trading day. Hope you learned something today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.